everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So this is Carmina, your host, and today we are of course resuming our card classes. And of course it's the turn of the Four of Spades. I know you've been waiting for these for a long time again, and I really appreciate your patience. So before we get started with the meaning and the interpretations and the symbolism behind the Four of Spades, let me just remind you that the cards that you're seeing in these videos are part of my card deck that I designed according to the Cards of Truth principles. You can order your deck by following the link in the description box. And if you want to go beyond these initiatory classes, which I think they're more than initiatory, like you get a lot of information from this series, you can also join one of my card classes. We have one that it's ongoing, and we'll be starting another one in March. So it won't be like complete beginners, so you won't spend your money on stuff that you already hear me or other people say on YouTube about cards, but it will be more intermediate. We'll just be looking at charts. I'll be looking at your charts, at the charts of people you know, and together we'll be making sense of it, okay? Okay, so the Four of Spades. So when we look at this card, we see a square. We see four elements which create some sort of shelter, of security. To me, this kind of looks like a shelter that you built in the storm when you're like on a desert island and you have to quickly make something to get through the night and to get through the rain and something like that. So it's like a shelter, it's like a stable place, but it's something very simplistic. It's not like a super comfortable house. And so the Four of Spades has this energy of being in a shelter, being secure with the self, because of course the spade suit relates to the self, to the work that we do on the self, both physically and more internally, psychologically and spiritually. So this Four of Spades is being at a time of peace, a time of retreat. It's like after going to the war at the Three of Spades, now we come home, we regroup our forces, we get some peace in order to plan the next move. Because of course the even cards are the more peaceful cards, the cards that show some stability, some recollection, some reflection of our experiences. At the Two of Spades, for instance, we are in a dialogue with ourselves, we find out what we need. And at the Four of Spades, we have a bit more stability, we have some time to breathe, we have a little comfort, a little shelter before the next action, because of course the black cards are always more action oriented. And the Four of Spades, even though it's in a temporary shelter, in some sort of bamboo or palm leaf construction, it's temporary, it's still very rudimentary, it's still very simplistic. So it's not something that gives you the most, satisfaction and comfort. Yes, also we have to keep in mind that the spade suit is related to the fire element. So it's the fire, it can be the inner fire or the outer fire, but it's some stability with the fire. It's like you're out in the shelter and you're doing a campfire to keep you warm for the night. So it's not something that's going to keep you warm forever, but it's something that you'll be having for a while. Now, what else do we associate the Four of Spades to? The 4 is, of course, a number connected to Mercury. Mercury is the planet that helps us manage things in our lives. It helps us find solutions. It helps us plan things. It helps us be resourceful. So how more resourceful can you get than building a bamboo house in the wilderness and making a campfire? It's like being resourceful with what you have, you know, at hand, with yourself, being resourceful with what you have closest to you. And of course, because the spades are associated to the fire element, we can also extrapolate and think of the four of spades as Mercury in the fire sign, Mercury in Aries or Mercury in Sagittarius, or even Mercury in Leo. Mercury does pretty well in fire signs. It's not bothered, so it's a good energy for him. It's a good challenge. Mercury likes to be the detective. It likes to find the details, to piece the pieces of the puzzle together in order to make something that works. So when you see a 4 coming up and a 4 of spades, you know, okay, you have some stability, you have some time to regroup, you have some time to assess your situation, but it's going to be something temporary. Then you're going to have to move on. So don't fall asleep, you know, too heavily, too deeply on this 4 of spades card. It's a temporary, comfortable thing. And as I was saying, in real estate, it can also show a house that is more simplistic, like a bungalow or something that's more temporary, the 4 of spades. Also, if the 4 of spades is in a, you know, in a less desirable place, or it's reversed, we can think that, okay, this moment of peace is not in your favor, this recollection, this taking a, you know, some shelter, it's really not in your favor. So you should take a step back, maybe to the 3 of spades, and again assess and be assertive and assess yourself as the independent and courageous individual that you are. So yeah, okay, if we look at the year spread, then we see that the 4 of spades days in the year are January 10th, then February 8th, and then we also have March 6th, April 4th, May 2nd, and I guess that's about it. May 2nd is the last, yeah, it's the last 4 of spades day. So you're a 4 of spades if you are born on these dates after sunrise at the place of birth, because this is the way I adhere to these calculations. I know some other card system just take the day as it is, but I take it after sunrise. Okay, now that being said, let's just take a look at the 4 of spades spread. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so let me share with you first the underlying and the overlying card for the 4 of spades. For the 4 of spades, the underlying card is the 10 of clubs, and the overlying card is the 4 of hearts. So, underlying cards, of course, correspond to the original Jack quadration, and that has to do with our original sequence of events. So it shows how things are formed. It shows how the cards are formed. So what that says to us is that the 4 of spades is formed from the energy of the 10 of clubs. It's formed from the energy of receiving some rewards for our intellect, which is, of course, the 10 of clubs. It's the energy of making magical things happen with our intellect, with our inspiration, with our skills, with our humor, with our intellectual skills mostly. And then after that is achieved, then there is a natural state of being secure with the self, which is the 4 of spades. And then the overlying card for the 4 of spades is what the card naturally aspires to become once this energy of the 4 of spades is reached, is none other than the 4 of hearts. So the 4 of hearts is also comfort. It also points out to comfort, but it's a different type of comfort. It's a more emotional comfort. It's being at peace with your devotion, with your feelings, with your family. It's a very sweet card to have. It can also relate to temples because we relate the fours to homes. So that is, in a nutshell, underlying and overlying meaning. Now let's move on to the spread. So we see here that the Four of Spades has a lot of hearts in their spread. Even their path is that of a heart. That's like surrender to the love, to the divine love. So it's a very spiritual path. It's a path that shows that there is no such thing as losing love. There is no such thing as love lost. All love given is the same, and everything deserves to be loved equally, even though we feel emotionally validated by it or not. So even if we find it ugly or distasteful or whatever, everything is equally deserving to be loved. That is the Nine of Hearts ecliptic card. So that is the path of the Four of Spades. Very devotional path, very family oriented, very compassionate. So they will feel that they are doing what they're supposed to do in life. They will feel like they're on their path when they have this attitude, which of course is not easy to acquire. It takes a lot to get to the Nine of Hearts. It takes a lot of sacrifice of the self needs, of the self emotional needs, which are selfish. Okay, so the kingdom they are building is the Ten of Hearts, so love, a popularity they receive from their environment. We're just going to look at the cards and just a little at the planets and the cusps, because it will differ for everyone. Although this spread will be the same, they will have all the Four of Spades people will have the same spread. Of course, according to their time and place of birth, these planets will be in different places. So this is just half of the picture, yes? Okay, so this is a kingdom they are building, and the way they adapt to life is through being receptive to the rewards from the world, to the concrete financial and land or really concrete skills rewards that they acquire. They are, I guess, a very skillful people, these Four of Spades, because they also have the Queen of Diamonds, which is a very good manager of finances and concrete things here on the Venus card. So if they are a man especially, they will be attracted to women that are like that are very good financial managers. The Mars card is a bit difficult because whenever I see an 8 and a 9, they're a bit difficult to access. It takes time. It takes patience because we have to get past the 7, which is Saturn first. So the 8s, of course, resonate with the energy of the North Node, and the 8 of Spades here is introspection. The positive affirmation of this 8 of Spades energy is introspection, taking the inner journey, taking time to introspect. So this is when the person feels stuck. And in the conflict card, it's not so nice to have this hard maybe in the beginning, because we just feel stuck on the situation. We feel stuck with the crisis, with the challenge. But then if we take a step back and try to be more self-validating and be ourselves more and find who we are in ourselves and have like this deep meditation and deep knowing of who we are, then we can get past any conflict. This is the 8 of Spades on the Mars card. On the Mercury card, we have yet another heart, an Ace of Hearts. So the way they form friendships, the way they organize and manage their lives is through a burst of something new and emotional. It's like a spring, it's like a flow of something that they emotionally feel, like a new emotion, a new feeling, a new devotion. So they are very emotional communicators, these four of spades. Of course, we also have to see where Mercury, the planet, is, and in this particular case, it's also in the five of hearts, so even more so emphasis on the emotional. We have here the Ace of Diamonds on the Jupiter card, so their long-term vision has to do with potentials regarding financial endeavors or land. They might be good with land, with real estate affairs. Also, the way they raise their children would be quite practical. They would teach them like new practical skills from the beginning, because the Ace of Diamonds, of course, is like a new concrete and practical skill. And Jupiter is also the card that relates to children, among other cards. We already mentioned this Queen of Diamonds, and this Five of Hearts here on the Saturn card. It's good to have a 5 on the Saturn card, because this crisis, this emotional crisis, gets destroyed. In this particular case, there's a lot of shame in this Saturn card. So all the good effects that could be of this Ace of Hearts, they could be a little blemished by the shame. See, whenever you see the nodes and malefics joining other planets, there will be a so-called shame, like the qualities of that planet are not readily expressed by the person. There is some shame in those areas of life ruled by those planets, and in the way those planets express themselves, unfortunately. So if there was a person that was born at the time when I raised this chart, they will have some issue here, some shame. But in general, this Five of Hearts on the Saturn card would be good, because the emotional crisis is destroyed, it's overcome. It's interesting to look at their node cards, because they're both 3, so they're both focused on a martial energy, on the energy of proving oneself, on having courage, but it's more it's more like leaving the Three of Spades, which is more the individual fight, the fight with the self, to the Three of Clubs, where you have to develop your argumentative skills, where you have to develop the way you sustain your ideas, the way you sustain your intellectual endeavors. So it's like a verbal warrior. It's a person that knows how to stick to their ideas. It's also the independent thinker. This is more like the soldier. This is more like the independent thinker. So it's a more intellectual path that needs to be also developed, because we don't really see many clubs for these people. They really need to learn how to argue and support their ideas in a fair manner. They need to have the strength to sustain their ideas. They also have this Seven of Clubs here, which is, you know, the clubs that they have are difficult ones. They're the 3 and the 7, the Mars and the Saturn of the clubs. So not easy ones. Yes, so I guess the thing that they most have difficulty with is supporting their ideas and letting go of ideas, patterns that are no longer working, letting go of friendships or contracts or whatever clubby thing that is not working. But when they do let go of that, in that way, they can contribute to the world, to making the world a more interesting place, because of course that's what the Uranus card does. And then we have the Five of Diamonds on the Neptune card. So when they improve on their finances, when they improve on their concrete skills, they connect more deeply to the world. They feel a deeper bond and a deeper, more like spiritual connection to the world by doing this concrete thing. And the 5 resonates pretty well with the energy of Neptune, because of course the 5 is part of the Queen energy, and Neptune is connected to the Queen card. And also, I don't think I mentioned in the beginning, of course, the 4 are also integral part of the Queen energy, of that a sustaining force. That Vishnu in Vedic realm, it's that force that's consistent and moves forward. It's very energetic and it's very feminine, and it's like a feminine, reliable and energetic principle in action. And then we have the Pluto card, the Queen of Spades. So this shows that the person has a lot of trouble with women that are like the queen, strong, independent women. It could be mostly that they have like dark hair or more like a dark complexion compared to their environment. Either the person wants to be like this, they invest a lot of expectations on them being like this, and then their expectations get shattered, because that's what the Pluto card does. Or they will have a lot of clashes with these types of women in their lives. Okay, so that's about it for today. If you really enjoy these video series that are kind of like classes, like free classes for you guys, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you want to go more deeply into the cards in an interactive and live manner with a group of students, you can subscribe to my future classes that start in March, at the end of March. And yeah, if you want the card deck, go ahead and order one, okay? Okay, so thanks very much for being here. I'll see you again soon. Bye.